Let's move on to the next question.
Go ahead.
This question is from Marco. He wants to know what are the mystery schools and if any Caucasians like Socrates or Galileo ever went to these schools.
Well, Socrates, he was a Garamantian. He was black,
Okay.
but the mystery schools, and I talk about the mystery schools, is that we grew up in America. Because we grew up in America, we grew up in a sense that our education came from going to maybe high school, elementary school, and university. But in most of the other societies, they have what's called a secret society. And when you reach a certain age, then the adults will teach you the mysteries of your group and your society. See, for example, the Egyptians. Many people say, why did the Egyptians have such a beautiful technology, and why they have such a beautiful hieroglyphic writing, all that type of good stuff? Well, remember, the original Egyptians, the first nome, because see every city, or every city, I think it was 46. There's 46 sipats, and these 46 sipats, or nomes, these were in a sense the various cities, or states, in a way, where black people live. And the original, in a sense, the first the first people to call themselves Kametru or Kamayu, which is the black people, were in a sense the Taseti. But the Taseti were originally Cushites, but they moved away from being Cushites because, see, in African villages, the old people make sure to keep your ass in line. I never grew up in the South, but I never grew up in the South, but I know my mother and them and father, they used to talk about how the old people down South would want to keep their asses in check.
Mm.
And see, but what happened is that the Egyptians decided, hey, we got a lot of beautiful mysteries. We know how to build pyramids. We know how to fly in the sky. We know how to travel. We Why don't we just make this shit real? You see? And so then they took what they had learned in the secret society and they made it obvious. You see? That's why there was always a war with the Kushites. And so the mystery system is where you learn the mysteries or the technologies that make your society great. But those things that you learn in the mystery system, or in your organization, is you can't tell people. And because you can't tell people, you had to keep it secret. You see?
Didn't you have to be a certain age to join the school?
Usually by the time when you went into puberty, as you began, in a sense, to reach manhood, they would tell you the stuff like that. That's like it's a beautiful Olmec statue, and in this Olmec statue, it has a man holding a child, and then on one side, I mean, not it's an pillar, it's kind of like it's a kind of a monument. And so on one side you have, in a sense, on the one side you have the man talking to the baby, or the young person. Then on the other side you have the child talking to the man. So in other words, once you learn the mysteries in the mystery school, then you in a sense become part of the adult society. I mean, just like that they had regular schools. It's like, look at all the pyramids in down in Central America. See, a lot of people think the pyramid building began in Yucatan. No, the pyramids were first built in Mesoamerica, like Honduras, Guatemala. They were built by black people. You see, that's why under a lot of the pyramids, you'll always find these murals with black people, but you might see, in a sense, mongoloid people, you know, uh, on the top pyramid, but it's always a pyramid up under these pyramids that really have black people who were building them. You know, see, see, the whole world, is you have to understand, is that most people don't really have an ancient history, and because most people don't have an ancient history, they had to do everything they can to try to create a history. The way they try to create a history is they try to steal our history. It's just like this recent debate about Cleopatra.
Yeah, I
And now,
saw that. The new Netflix TV show, documentary, something.
yeah, and the people got upset. The Egyptians said, "No, why are you making her black? when in a sense she had to have been white. And even the damn Egyptians, you're not white. Get out of here. You know, we
Right.
know that you're an Arab. You just a light skin, and many people would call you just a light skinned mulatto. But they want to steal that whiteness. See, people they have no history unless they steal our history. Same thing with the so-called Maya. A lot of people say, "Oh yeah, you know the Mayans, they must be related to the Indians because they call Maya." No, the Maya didn't call themselves Maya. They're known by their various tribal names. It was white archaeologists and linguists who started calling them the Maya or gave them a generic term Maya. Well, they don't call themselves Maya. That's just a name that they created to call those people. Just like people in Africa. They'll talk about the Bantu people. There's no such thing as a Bantu people. It's a bunch of people who speak languages that they call Bantu. Linguists and archaeologists and anthropologists call Bantu, but there's no real Bantu people because see, people create names so that they can, in a sense, identify people. For example, just like over there, we call the African continent. We call that continent the largest continent on the planet. We call it Africa. But if you were to ask the people over there before the white man came, what the continent was called, they couldn't give you a name for the continent because they didn't really care about the continent. All they thought about was their own home. Just like many people today, they try to say that, oh yeah, the earliest Americans they called the North America Turtle Island. Why the hell would they call it Turtle Island? They didn't know about no Turtle Island. All they thought about was their hometown. Then just like you hear a lot of brothers, you hear a lot of brothers. I'm an Indian. I'm a Cherokee, Blackfoot. I'm not African. And then they say when we say hello, we say Niji, Niji.
Mm-hmm.
And then they think they speaking a foreign language when Niji, it comes from the Mandingo people that lived over here. And Niji is just saying, what up, though? Hi, brother. But they don't know their history. They don't know their history. Because they don't know their history, then you can tell them anything. See, the majority of us, we don't really study history. We don't really try to do any real research. And so therefore, whatever the European tell us, we believe it to be true. You know.
That's so true.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that I've been really writing so many books. And I'm trying to do as much as I can. I'm 72 years old. So I'm trying to do as much as I can to get the history out there. So maybe some young people might pick up the information and carry it forward.
Yeah, and they definitely are. They loving it. All right, we
Yeah.
got two more. We got two more questions. Okay, next one. This is from Jamila. Who created the chakra system? I
Who created
guess
the
I,
shock?
I I guess she's saying like because a lot of people think it's like India.
Well, the thing is this is that the chakra system, where did you got to go, where did the Indians come from? See, the people in India, most of that stuff came from the South Indians. The South Indians, they speak the Dravidian languages.
Okay.
And the Dravidian linguistic speakers, they came from the Nile Valley. So the chakra system came from the Nile Valley. See the whole like when you read the literature like the Mahabharata, when you read the Ramayana, when you read all these books in India, these ancient books of India, they're not talking about ancient India. They're talking about the Nile Valley.
Hmm.
The chakras began. The research in the chakras began in in Africa, in Egypt, the Nile Valley, and then they took it over to India.
Did they use any of those like chakra points to like I don't know. Did you? Is it like any like drawings or anything like that showing like they have like they knew about the points?
Not it's not from Africa. That would have been taught in the secret society. See, over in over
Oh
in
yeah.
India, over in India, they because of the fact that the Dravidian people had left the Nile Valley, they didn't feel they had to keep stuff secret, so they started telling stuff. As I told you, once you get away from the old people, you can get busy. Just like me,
Hmm.
I can write a lot of stuff now, but if I know something secret, I can't tell it. I'll never write about that. Because see, if I got to keep it secret, that's why I never talk about Nagasheen. I don't like Nagasheen. I don't talk about Nagasheen. you know, I leave Nagashima alone. But you know, that's just it. I don't go there.
All right, let's go to this last question. This is from Eric. What was school like in DeSable High School?
Well, when I went to Dusable High School, it was to me it was a place where we had we had a lot of great people. We had the some of the greatest artists. We had a tradition like Nat King Cole. Nat King Cole, he had went to DuSable. Uh, uh, our music director, he had been Nat King Cole's teacher. So then when he became our teacher, then we had you know, the DuSable Museum that they have in Chicago today. Originally it was began by my art teacher. And my art teacher, I can't think of her name right now, but she developed the Dusable Museum in her house. Because a lot of rich black people, well, black people with nice money, they used to live on what we used to call, you know, South Park, but now today they call it Martin Luther King Drive. Well, it used to be a lot of black mansions up and down there, you know, because see, back in the day, back when I was growing up, you know, all the black people had to live among each other, you know, teachers, doctors, lawyers, you know, because white man, he wouldn't let you, you couldn't move all, you could live in every place in Chicago. So black people lived from about what? They lived on the west side, and then we lived on the south side from maybe about 35th, maybe 22nd Street up to 79th Street. And the people lived at 79th Street, that was kind of a mixed area. So, you know, we used to call them bougies, you know, bourgeoisies. And so
Mhm.
the DuSable, so because of the fact that DuSable had this heritage of great musicians, artists coming from DuSable, then that made us feel in a sense that we could do just about anything. It made us feel it made us feel that we could carry on that tradition. And we knew that black people who had went to DuSable were successful. And we knew that many of us could be successful too if we just put an effort in trying to be successful. So when I went to DuSable, it was the beginning of the Black Power period, and because of the fact that it's beginning of the Black Power people period, being a teenager, you know, teenagers, we feel we can't die. We feel we multiply. I mean, damn, how you gonna kill me? Get the hell out of here. You know, I got the whole world in front of me. That's what I felt at first. But by 1969, when all the gang banging started, and to become a gang banger, like, to join the Disciples or the Blackstone Rangers, you had to kill somebody.
In
Since
1969?
oh hell, oh the 60, 66, 69, all of those. Oh hell yeah.
Dang.
Oh man, you couldn't even stand on the corner to wait for a bus.
What was some of the gangs in back in 1969?
The vice lords, the
Okay.
okay, and around 1966, the disciples, the black disciples, they began in a sense, they began at a Catholic church in what we call the Inglewood community. You probably hear about the Inglewood community. You know, they always talk about where all the shooting is. They lived in the Inglewood community. Then in Woodlawn, another Catholic priest, he started the Blackstone Rangers. And so the disciples and the Blackstone Rangers, they became the two major gangs. You know, just like the founders of the Crips, they were disciples from Chicago. And
Oh.
the founders of the Bloods, they were Blackstone Rangers
Wow.
from Chicago, but they called themselves in a sense Bloods and Crips. Okay, the disciples, their color was the blue, and then the Bloods, their color, the Blackstone Ranger color was the red. They called themselves nations. But see, it's kind of interesting that both of these gangs, the Blackstone Rangers and the Black Disciples, they began at Catholic churches. See, it was almost like the white man invented that shit. In fact, you know, when Nixon was inaugurated president of the United States, they invited the Blackstone Rangers to his inauguration ball.
What?
Oh
Oh
man,
man.
oh man,
Oh man, it's gonna
like
be cool to find. Yo.
like the bloody Halloween of 67, 1967. I was 17. So me and my friend James Harper, we knew it was a girl down the street. You know, she's kind of free hearted, if you know what I mean. So so we're a couple of squares. If we're gonna go down there and talk to her and see what can happen, and hey, nothing happened. So we was coming back home, and so these five guys they came up and they said stone to the bone. And I said, J Hop. I used to call his name was James Hop. I said, J Hop, don't say nothing, don't say nothing. And then he said stone to the bone. And then he said stone to the bone. And then they said, D-Thing. And then this guy he had a long coat. Back then he used to have long coats and they wear sharp derbies and stuff. And he came up out from under his coat, came up with a shotgun. Brow, you know. And oh man, we had to run all the way home. James Harvey got shot in the back. Man, I saw my life go before me. Shit, I didn't think I was gonna get to be 21. The only thing I just wanted to have some sex, so I could die. I wouldn't die a virgin. Just please. Oh man, you couldn't stand on the corner. If I used to be walking home. Sometime I walk. If somebody catch me now and they say, you're gonna become a disciple. You're gonna become a Blackstone Ranger. I said, well, I can become I could really talk some mess. I can't become a Blackstone Ranger because I'm gonna go to college when I come back. I'm gonna be a lawyer. And I'm take care of your business. You understand? You did. It's like, oh yeah. And I say, and then sometimes it might be really militant. I look them in the eye and say, hey, I'm gonna tell you this. You can shoot me. See, back then they wouldn't shoot you in the back. Your generation, oh shit, you shoot brother. You shoot brother back in the face, any damn thing. But they wouldn't shoot you in the face. They'd shoot you in the back. So I said, hey, so I got caught a couple of times. I got caught them and they said, you gonna join? I said, no, I can't join them, but I tell you this. If you miss, I'm gonna fuck your ass up. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, motherfucker. And I walk and I still walk, but I'd always look them in the face. Once I got out of there, I had awesome ass. See, my motto back then was Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. He who runs away today may come back another day quick. Oh man, we was playing basketball one day. This guy named Lloyd, he went up to take a shot, and then they said, "Stone to the bone!" Pow, pow, pow! Shot him in the head, man.
Dang.
Basketball, yes sir, yes sir. Oh man, gangbang has always been before the Blackstone Rangers and the Disciples. You had the Vice Lords. You had the folk hunter hustlers, all type. It's always been gang. Black people are very tribalistic people, and because we're tribalistic, I don't know if y'all had a lot of gangs when you was growing up in your neighborhood, but
yes.
And
No.
then well, see, we had a lot of gangs, and then another tribalism is you go in the black community, you see a church on every corner and shit. Everybody got to have their own shit instead of just being cool. So it's very complicated, very complicated. And so then, so the Blackstone Rangers and Disciples, they spread their gangs all over all over the country. It's just the only way you can see it is they kept the same colors, blue and red. And then a lot of times they had literature. See, back in the day, the gangbangers back in the day, they consider themselves belonging to a nation. They had a history and all that type of stuff. These gangbangers nowadays, they don't have no traditions. They just are wilding. And then because then back in the 80s, a lot of people. I was teaching in county jail back in the 80s. A lot of young brothers was making all that money selling drugs. But every time brothers found a way to make some money, the Europeans gonna stop your ass. They didn't stop the mafia, did they? They didn't stop those. They didn't stop those folks. Everybody made money starting gangs. The Italians, the Jews, all of them started gangs. I mean, that was a mafia that created Hollywood. But see, the Europeans didn't mind them making money. But every time it looked like we're gonna find a way to make money, they got to stop that issue. So
now, when we say mafia made Hollywood, you talking about like the Jewish people, right?
yeah.
Okay. I was like,
they were in
because I got a book about that.
Yeah, they were brotherhood. I mean, they stuck up. Remember the Jews? The Jews used to help keep the Jews used to work for the Italians to help keep their money, man.
Yeah, in New York, this is a great TV show called Boardwalk Empire, where they have a Jewish dude who run everything in New York. Yep, you're so right.
And so then they took a lot of them took their money from New York, for the Yiddish community, and they went out. They went out to California and made big bucks. See, back in the day, like in James Brown Day, if you wanted to go out, and like you see, what's her name? She just had a tour, like Beyonce. She about to have a tour,
Mm-hmm.
and she about to go sing around the country. Okay, where she have her own company to do that. Back in the day, if you were a singer, the only way in a sense that you could go around and do shows like that, you had to have the backing of the mob and the stuff who would put the
Yep.
money up for that.
Uh-huh.
You
Yep.
know, so, yeah. Just like the lottery. The lottery came from the policy that we used to do in Chicago and New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and but you can win with the policy because see the policy it was chance.
Mm.
See, you can't hardly win. You can't hardly win with the lottery today because the lottery is not chance. The lottery is made by the computer.
Yep.
And since the lottery made by a computer, can a computer do anything on its own? Thank you. No. So they had to program it. Even if
Mm-hmm.
they even if they say the program is random, they still programmed it.
Right.